the storm. Into this house we're born. Into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan, riders on the storm.
And the music was good and the music was loud.
What's up, cyberspace cadets? That's right. It's Sunday. You know what that means? It's time for some ice cream. It's Ice Cream Sunday, of course. It's Irate Prostate, like I said. What we do here, the idea behind why I call it ice cream, is that most people consider that ice cream is a treat. And a treat, to me, a treat is somebody that I'm interested in. I want to know more about them. This guy that we're going to be talking to today, like right when I first got really into like watching YouTube and stuff, not long after that, I caught some of his earlier work, politically oriented, short takes and good stuff. And I've always, kind of been on a periphery, just checking them out. We never met before, and by some freak of nature, I happened to ask the dude, "Hey man, you want to do this thing?" And because he was here during the ASPE show, and he said, "Yeah." And ladies and gentlemen, I present for you the Dark Conservatarian, or Dark-Con is what I'm going to call him, if I can get that out right.
Hello everybody, and might I say that's some rockin' music. Like, I really love that music mashup. I for a second there thought that I had a tab playing that song. I was like, what the fuck, do I have a tab playing by accident? But no, you got some good taste. I've heard that mashup long before, and I love the shit of it. Irate Prostate.
It's a classic. Well, yeah, I got a strike, and so I've been having to like play with non-volatile chemicals, as they say. And put more copyright friendly stuff, and that will not get a strike. So, but I've got another mix. I'm getting tired of it.
I must say that is a really a great piece right there as far as mashups go.
It does kick ass, man. It's like I don't know. I'm an old fucker, and I remember when I got Let There Be Rock, when nobody really knew who AC/DC was, and yeah. So that song is really special to me. Anywho,
By the way, I gotta ask one question before we get started any further.
Sure.
Alright, Prostate.
Yes, sir.
What the fuck gave you the idea to name your YouTube persona off of the health of men's groinal area?
Oh, funny, you should ask that. Well, all right, so
Couldn't help myself.
Well, all right, so when I emerged on the scene and decided to do like maybe okay, I'm going to do a YouTube thing. Maybe I was toying with the idea. I got on Twitter, and so I had an account that I wanted to be my main account. And if you look for it, you can find it. It's called Blocked by Shives. And everybody knows what that means. But and so Irate Prostate was like a parody account, right? That I was going to use to troll people with. And the trolling got more popular and more popular, and more people started subbing to Irate Prostate than to the other guy. So I said, "Fuck it," and the name just stuck. Sometimes the name picks you, man. That's all I gotta say. Just like
I gotcha.
Yeah, just like the face. Sometimes the face picks you. We'll go ahead and move in this room here. Get away. Don't forget to ring that bell. That's right. All right, man. So all right, what we do here is you and I are going to be talking. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, beginning at YouTube, and then we'll get into your life personally, and we'll go through that. And then once we've completed the cycle, we'll be back at YouTube, and then we'll be at the end of the line, man. And that's usually where we end the show. Before we get going, say hey to everybody. Uzi Q, my one and only, is in the audience from work. You need to put the phone down, honey. You will get fired, honey. Okay? I'm just saying. I love you. That's fine, baby. You know what I'm saying. I'm joking with her. Yeah, it's like, and Irate here is nothing but crickets. All right. So, all right, so how long have you been around YouTube, and what was the main reason you decided to come on YouTube?
Well, how long I've been on it was ever since at least 2014, if not a little bit before that, because when I first got my YouTube account, it was mostly for YouTube comments and stuff like that. And what was the other part of your question? Like, what made me want to do YouTube, like content creation?
Yeah.
Okay. When I first got my YouTube account, I was thinking of doing like some kind of little war series. It was very low in quality, honestly, and it was just me and my friends sort of fooling around. Nothing very well structured. I did not have scripts written, so it was really off the cuff, the recording and everything. And eventually we kind of fell off of the bandwagon. And what inspired me to do that was I used to watch a lot of Nerf War videos, sort of. And I did not want to call it like Nerf War or anything like that, the series that I did, because that would have been a little bit too cliche for one thing, even though we did use some Nerf guns, but we were also using other plastic toy props that we could scrounge about. But eventually we kind of fell off the bandwagon, and of course my own personal life got considerably busy throughout a good portion of 2014 and the first half of 2015, and so did it go with friends. Busy, I mean, and so that idea was completely scrapped. I have a re-edit of it, which I'll have to link somewhere sometime to show you it, of the little project I once done, and there was even like some footage that is missing for what was going to be the second episode of that series, and even the third episode, but of course second and third episodes of the series never got finished, only the first episode. Of course, I eventually did a re-edit, but in September 2015 was when that I actually did my very first ever response video. It was a response video to War Corp 666, or at least he was then known as War Corp 666 anyways. Now he's the Lord of Patriarchy, and in between those two accounts, he went by Dave Nordahl and Bacon Productions. I can't remember. It was a very short-lived account, the third one that he had started. But yeah, War Corp 666, he did a video talking about defund Planned Parenthood, and it just really pissed me off. Like, not only was it disagreeable, it was also aggravating, the amount of disagreement. So I had to get stuff off my chest about it. And there was also all the other opinions that I had to come across on the internet, off of YouTube primarily. People would say things that I would just find easily enough respondable to. Like I would think of my own arguments. Like some other people might have their own responses and arguments to those opposing arguments, but I had my own thoughts, my own way of responding to them, and so I wanted to get off my chest and get out into the public my way of responding to those arguments. Arguments that I would come across would be like, or opinions would be from the likes of Secular Talk, although I haven't watched a whole lot of Secular Talk. It was mostly just a few dozen videos back in 2013, in between the time frame of 2013 and 15 and so forth. But yeah, places like his YouTube channel and so on and so forth. By the way, I gotta ask out of curiosity, what was the earliest that you had seen my videos? Because I couldn't imagine that it was like as early as 2015.
No,
More like
it was after that. It was like 2017, I would say, early 2017.
All right, yeah, 2017 was when things really started to pick up. Of when that I got promoted by bigger channels and just sort of branched out, had all these multiple different internet friends. That was when the growth really started happening. Yeah, 2015, I did not have any sort of structure as to what I wanted to respond to precisely. As soon as like the general election was like really heating up in 2016, it's when that I felt kind of, I guess you could say, ostracized by the Republican Party at the time. Like I became fairly briefly a never Trumper Republican voter myself. And so I was looking into other options, looked into the Libertarian nomination, and I was kind of fascinated with Austin Peterson. I did some videos about his encounters with Gary Johnson. Was very disappointed with Gary Johnson, and I would have rather not voted for him either come the general election. So I looked in further and came across Evan McMullen, and a whole lot of my earlier content back in 2016 was a whole bunch of pessimisms about Donald Trump. Even goes so far that I thought that he was a Hillary Clinton plant, which going in 100 days into his actual tenure as president, that kind of was disproven as he was nominating Neil Gorsuch, which I don't think that a Hillary Clinton plant would nominate somebody like Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court of the United States. So that was the moment that I realized, maybe he wasn't a Hillary Clinton plant. Maybe I was wrong in the 16 general election. But I still don't really regret so much voting for Evan McMullen here in Kansas, even though he gained no traction here. He gained more traction in Utah and Idaho. But I digress. After the election of Donald Trump, I did just sort of whatever the skeptic community was doing or my friends were doing as far as response videos do, like Riley Dennis and another guy named Owen McDonald. Don't know if you had heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like them that I would do response videos to. I did not just want to do response videos to feminism. Actually, that wasn't really my staple. My staple was always abortion. It's been a while since I did an edited response video on abortion. I'm going to have to do another one again here soon. But it was abortion and economics and sometimes gun rights that I'd be responding to. There was some other random bits of social commentary, like there was a response video that did to Muhammad Ali when it came to interracial marriage. It was a bit of an old bit, like it was back in the 1980s, that interview was. It just was resurfacing in 2017. And I thought it was so off base. It was so stupid, the arguments that he was making, I thought. And so I made a response video to that. Atheist Voice. Atheist Voice was another one of those atheist, old guard, skeptic community members, I guess you could call them. Way back in the days when that used to have been atheism versus creationism, the 2000s, early 2010s, and so on and so forth.
Right.
He was like one of those videos I'd run across in 2013 where it was all these arguments, I have so many things that I want to say in response, but I just don't know if it's the right timing to do so. And then, of course, later on in 2017, I finally did make a response video to him, and it was supposedly him going on about how arrogant Christians are, an XYZ example. And I was all like, yeah, half of the examples you brought up, I can agree are fairly arrogant, but at the same time, the other half of examples that you brought are not really arrogance from Christians, and really you just calling them arrogant is, ironically enough, making yourself look arrogant, dude. That's basically how that video went. Yeah, the older days of when I used to do political commentary, way back in 2016 and so forth, and 2015, I did not have a microphone at the time. The microphone that I used to do for Lego, I used to do like Lego stop motion animation projects. I never posted any of those on the internet, actually, none of them. But it was something that I was just playing with movie editors at the time, and I used to have this crappy microphone that I used, and it absolutely broke. At the time that I had finally got into the idea of wanting to do political response videos, I had no microphone. I just had this crappy Kodak digital camera that I would splice videos of myself talking into it with the clips of the other person's video that I would be playing in response to those videos. It wouldn't be until like 2017 when I got my first stick microphone, which that is the popular microphone that, the quality of that microphone is popular up to bearing levels, and by that I'm meaning a bearing like later in late 2017 poked fun as to how much of a retard I was and how bad I was in setting up my audio. Have you like seen that response video that Bearing had done to me?
No, I didn't, to be honest.
To post it to you, but yeah, I was kind of, I mean, this drama is like very old drama. It's all said, well and done, and everybody is fair off with each other. There's no beef or anything like that. So, but just for context on history, Loudmouth Reviews was one of the YouTubers that I had met back in 2017, and I thought that he was being kind of unfairly picked on by Bearing, and so I made a response video to Bearing, along with the subject that them two were fighting with each other on at the time. And he made a response video to my response video, and was saying, and you're too much of a retard to set up your own audio at one point in his video. Even made jabs about how I basically remind him of dang it, what's the guy's name? I can't remember. You know the bad guy from Grandma's Boy, right? JP, that's his name. JP, he basically poked fun about how I reminded him basically of JP from Grandma's Boy, because I was like dressing myself up in this pea coat, which he was actually wearing a full-on trench coat, but I guess pea coat is the next best thing from a trench coat, and so that's how that happened.
Yeah.
I would not get my first ever fairly well quality microphone until like late 2017, around Christmas. At that time, one of my friends, I would tell my friends about how much I had so much passion into my YouTube channel and making political response videos and just hanging out with people over the internet. And so one of them got the idea, I think I'm going to give him a microphone for his around December, because my that was a Christmas gift. It was Home Office. I think Home Office was the brand of microphone. A Home Office microphone. It wasn't as high quality as, say, the Rode NT right here that I have right now, that I wouldn't get until Christmas 2019. But it was still a whole lot better than the stick microphone that I had at the time, which somebody in the comment section of one of Bearing's videos actually said, that's Zach 90s quality microphone Edwards for you. And by the way, I did not dox myself right there, because my last name is pretty much fairly known to people right now, but especially ever since Bearing made that response video to me. But yeah, to get sort of my train of thought going a little bit better, what's your do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I've got some more. So how much would you say of what you do online is you can say is pretty much the real you?
All the stutters and the stutters, and I guess the sort of nervous laughter, although I don't do as much nervous laughing in person. I guess it's just a little bit of my anxiety sort of coming more into fruition with over the internet interactions. Like, I get a whole bunch of pre-debate anxiety and a little bit of pre-stream anxiety just in general. I mean, even for not so much for a relaxed live stream like this. I mean, I knew that it was going to be very stressless, especially compared to all the debates that I've had and whatnot. But how much of it is the real me? The dorkiness, the wannabe edginess. There's a whole lot of my other, like, more hard-ass, blue-collar working friends that I have in real life, they'd be a whole lot more edgier than me and classier and more successful with their edginess too, might I add. But the dorkiness, the stuttering and stuff like that. That's what I can basically start off as far as what part of me is the real me.
Sweet. All right. So, is there well, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna add pretty much all the opinions that I hold are the real me as well. I know that Magog, he has his persona over the internet where he'd be all like, "I think these characters should die" or something like that. And obviously, you make the conclusion that the real him does not really want those characters to die or whatever. But I don't have anything going to that level as far as realism versus non-realism over the internet, but you get the point.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. All right. So the next question is something I like asking everybody. Is there a food from your childhood that you could not stand, but as an adult you actually like it? You grew into like it.
I won't say that I hate this particular food, but I used to be very slow at eating stir fry, at least. I cannot say that I outright hate it when I was a kid, but I had a hard time finishing it. Tortellini soup, chicken tortellini soup, I really did not like when I was a kid, but even nowadays, I still don't like it. I mean, I guess I tolerate more nowadays, but all the same. And cucumbers, I definitely hate almost as much nowadays as I did back then. I guess one food that I can name off the top of my head, I ironically enough did not really like that much back when I was a kid, but now I do like, would be hamburgers, oddly enough. I guess that was mostly just because I did not taste like an actually good hamburger back in the day.
That's right.
Nowadays, cool. I have my own money and transportation and stuff like that, so I can actually go out and explore the world and get the taste of what an actual hamburger, what a really good hamburger tastes like, and plus I can cook my own food as well on top of that. But yeah.
Sweet. All right. So, who would you say was the most influential person from your childhood?
Are we talking about personal life, or are we talking about even celebrities? As far as range goes.
However you want to answer the question, that's fine.
Most influential character from my childhood. Obviously, my own parents would be a couple of them. Not everybody can say that, I realize, so that is one starking example, I guess I could say. Also, another one would be Mark Levin. Rush Limbaugh used to have been one, but now I look back, I don't have that much high regard for Rush Limbaugh, because he's just a little bit too plain with his political opinions, and he did not really revolutionize my thinking. Whereas Mark Levin did revolutionize a lot of my thinking. Like, I just gone thinking politics back listening to purely just people like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, and just gone thinking of things in kind of almost a cult of personality sort of way. Whereas Mark Levin kind of grounded my thinking more in a constitutional perspective. And nowadays I still think of things in a constitutional perspective, but I also have a few more libertarian opinions that would obviously differ from Mark Levin. Nowadays, there are some problems that I obviously have with Mark Levin as compared to in the past, but it would definitely be a figure that definitely revolutionized my thinking. If I was to bring in music artists, Rich Mullins, who is a Christian contemporary artist who died back, maybe mid 2000s, I think, earlier mid 2000s, something like that. But when I grew up back in the 90s, when I was a very young one, I listened to a whole lot of Rich Mullins music, and that was one of the first artists I can really point out that I really liked, long before I got introduced to classic rock by my dad and so forth.
Sweet.
As far as actors go, I don't know if I can name any off the top of my head as far as actors in my childhood that I found somewhat influencing.
Okay. Let's see. So what kind of kid were you? As a younger kid, were you rambunctious and ran around a lot, or were you real shy and withdrawn?
It was when we were like out in the public sphere, like in more public areas. I was definitely a shy one. When we were just around the house, I guess you could say that I was a little bit more rambunctious. But getting out, exploring the world, like I was homeschooled all my life, so I guess that's a part of the contribution as to how that I was shy all my life, and still I'm somewhat shy even nowadays, even in spite of exposing myself to hundreds of people over the internet via YouTube. I still have somewhat of a shy quality to me, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was like really bad back in my childhood. But yeah, I was homeschooled, and so my mom would actually bring me out to these different social groups, like high school robotics, or robotics in general was like one of the social groups that my mom would get me out into. It first started out as Lego robotics in my pre-high school days, and then getting into my actual high school days, it was not Legos anymore. We were like constructing our robots with PVC plastic, some steel, and of course wood and other more sophisticated parts that would be more of a reflection of the real life manufacturing world as opposed to Legos, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, I met a whole lot of friends that way, got exposed to competition. Like I did not engage into any actual sports, like unprofessionally, unorganized. I would play soccer every now and then, and a few others like basketball. I was never ever good with football. I cannot even say that I was really good with basketball because I have terrible hand-eye coordination. I was mostly a blocker whenever I played basketball with friends. Soccer was the biggest sport, though. I had, guess you could say, a little bit more coordination with my feet and eyes, but eye-feet coordination, if you will. But no sports aside from robotics. Robotics was my social activity in place of any type of sports.
That's cool.
A BattleBots type of person that says Aircraft Sparky, I can dig it. No, it wasn't BattleBots. We did not go out breaking each other's robots, unfortunately enough, Aircraft Sparky.
Actually, I'm in the same vein as Sparky. I'd love to do that, man.
I have seen a few.
I love BattleBots. You ever watch that, man?
I've seen one of the episodes of them. I can't remember what exactly it was. I think, dang it, I can't remember if like the two robots were from Japan or if the two robots were like American robots and the one robot that was fighting against them was Japanese. But I just remember that there was some competition of where that there were these two teams of robot makers that was teaming up against this one team of robot makers, and the first robot put up against the one robot team that the show was more centered around, at least for that one episode, just very easily defeated them. And then the second robot, it was a little bit more of a challenge, but all the same, still won.
Did you see that real, have you seen that real Gundam-looking giant robot they're building in Japan?
Oh, I have not.
Oh, dude, you should check that out. It's ridiculous. It's like, I'd say it's, about 10 stories tall? And it moves, it articulates, but it's being held in place, right? It's not like it can balance or anything, so it doesn't walk or anything, but it can kneel down, and it just takes forever to get it there. It's crazy, man. It's kind of
real
cool.
life Gundam Japan.
Yeah. Just say giant mech or giant robot. I would say actual giant robot in Japan.
Japan built a life-size Gundam robot, and Twitter's freaking out. Anyone have this on their 2020 bingo card?
Yeah, as if 2020 couldn't get any weirder, man. This has been a damn crazy year, man.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't write this stuff in a book and people would buy it, right? All right. So, is there a special holiday that has any meaning for you that you really like to get behind, to celebrate and have fun with?
I would say that, I don't know. I would say that Thanksgiving, I guess, is my personal most favorite because the Christmas, the general message that Christians like to adopt Christmas for, that being like the birth of Jesus and so forth. That's all fuzzy, well and good, but unfortunately, Christmas is also kind of ruined with some of the materialism and vanity around it at the same time. And And plus, there's also the kind of heathenistic traditions that people have adopted into Christmas, which isn't inherently sinful, at least in my opinion anyways, but who's getting serious here? But I would say Thanksgiving. Same thing kind of goes for Easter as far as heathenistic practices that were adopted by Christians into their holidays and whatnot. Actually, Independence Day and Thanksgiving, those would probably be my two most favorite holidays, because they're the ones that I have actually interacted with family and friends more. I will say that Christmas of 2018 was a very good Christmas. Of course, that was in general a fairly bad year as far as personal friends go back in 2018, and Christmas was the kind of reuniting point as far as those friends go, but I'm not going to get into very deep detail about that.
Okay.
In general, I'd say that Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, though.
So what was the craziest thing you did when you were a little kid?
Craziest thing? I cannot really think of anything in particular. Like, I did not go on any big adventures like a whole bunch of other people did back in their childhoods, like go woods exploring or cave exploring or anything like that. And of course, I already mentioned earlier that I wasn't a big sportsman. I guess the craziest that it would have gotten was either going to Disney World Florida, or the Schlunderbahn water park in Texas.
All right, so
as far as activities go, like anything embarrassing, like outright embarrassing, like I obviously got embarrassed, but over the most trivial of things to get embarrassed over. It's mostly because of the anxiety and shyness that I had back in those days. More than anything, but it's not like they were actually embarrassing in the grand objective scheme of things. Yeah.
So, all right, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the age of 8 years old, what would you tell little Dark Khan?
What would I tell him? Probably get out in the world more. Probably be the biggest thing, because I think that one of the biggest problems that I've had within my life is a little bit of a lack of social skill. And I think that if maybe if I got out in the world a little bit more, nowadays I'd probably be just a tad more caught up with other friends, and learn how to let stuff wash off your back a little bit better. Like, I don't know of the F-bomb. Like, I'm not talking about like the word fuck, but I don't know of how you feel about the F-bomb being dropped, the forbidden F word being dropped on your live streams.
Like the fig word? Fag?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
Okay. Well, I did not know if you were concerned about YouTube's algorithms or anything like that. But back in the day, there was,
and you know, it's like I'm not quite at 1,000 subs, so I'm getting there, man. Just getting inch by inch. So we got 10 to go.
I gotcha. And I'm at least 250 behind you as far as over 250 behind you as far as that goes. Over 300 actually. But yeah. What was I going to say? For example, on your question, to kind of expound on my answer to your question anyways, like when I was younger, there was this neighborhood bully that would come by our house on occasion, and he would consistently call me a faggot, and I do not know as to why I would just let it kind of offend me and hurt me so much, me personally being called a faggot or whatever. Nowadays, fast forward to modern day, I don't get as touchy about it now, but that would probably be the advice that I would give to myself, and a little bit of forewarning, basically, that people will just call you names just out of the blue, and it will not make any sense. I would at least give a piece of advice to my 8-year-old self: brace yourself. The world can get rather crazy. People will do sort of mean stuff just out of the blue and for no reason, and so forth.
So what about girlfriends? Talk about the first time you got with a chick.
interesting question right there, IP. Disclosure, full disclosure, I've never had a girlfriend.
Okay, you want to talk about your first erection?
The closest that's what?
You remember your first erection?
Oh god. I don't know if I want to go back that far, but I will tell you that back when I used to work at this restaurant, there was this very curvy bombshell of a waitress that worked there. Like, I was 19 and she was 17 at the time. She could like pass for a whole lot older than that. Nonetheless, like the first I had like a set eyes on that, I got so turned on that I almost practically jizzed myself in my pants standing. That's the most lewd that I'll get. But nonetheless, and that was probably the closest that it got ever to a girlfriend, is that I tried to ask out that same girl, but it flopped ultimately on its face. So ultimately, I've gotten close, but successfully, no, I've never had a girlfriend.
My grandma used to say there's always a fool for a fool. So in other words, everybody's got somebody out there they're compatible with. All right, so what about the first time you got like shit-faced? What was that like? Have you been shit-faced?
No, I have. I definitely have. It's something that differs from me and Incredible Waspy, who I remember you interviewing about, and he said he probably only had like one beer in his entire life, or at least a particularly hard beer, anyways. Right. But me, I've actually had shots with blue collar working class coworkers of mine and so forth. One time, I guess I was like having shots with a couple of my coworkers one time, and at one of their houses. I do not know how many shots I had. I must have had like 5 of this hard whiskey. And of course, we kind of pre-gamed over at a bar at some point a little bit beforehand. Right. So I think I had like 1, maybe 2 beers at that point. And then we went over to his house and I had like 4 extra shots or something like that. And I got so wasted to where I just wanted to cuddle with the cats on the ground. And of course, the cats would be kind of scared away. I remember succinctly. Be scared away and just to want to get away from me. Yeah, get this crazy man away from me. But that was how wasted I was at that time. Trying to like name off another particular time. I never been blackout drunk. I will put that. I've remembered at least major details throughout every single time that I've ever been drunk with friends. Right. So one other time with one of those aforementioned coworkers that I mentioned, where I was drinking with him, and he had invited some of his own buddies over at his rental house that he was living at the time. And a little bit earlier in that evening, he was like doing some remodel to the rental house along with the landlord, who was the other coworker, but he left a little bit later. But the original coworker who was living at the rental house, we decided to go to a bar. Had like a couple beers, I guess, and 1 shot, and then went back over to his rental house. And I don't remember how many total times that we had shots and beers. I can't remember the amount, but I just remember that at one point I was so drunk that I was like just leaning up against the wall and practically falling asleep, and to the point of where that coworker of mine, he decided, yeah, we're gonna take you back in bed because you look like you're about to pass out on the floor. And so we did. I got taken over to the bedroom. And then about an hour later, after I like slept for an hour or something like that, or it might have been shorter, I don't know. Time felt so warped at that point. I remember being transferred over to another room and by one of the coworkers' own friends. And I just remember like he was setting me up in that other room. I do not know why they were transferring me rooms. They were just getting wild while I was passed out asleep, I guess. But they decided to transfer me over to the next room. And I just remember asking, "Where's my boots?" And he said, "They're right there," because I have a pair of black cowboy boots that my sister bought me as a Christmas or a birthday present rather. Which was one of the best presents I've ever got from her, so that's neat. But I was asking, where's my boots? And he said, they're right there. Where's my boots? They're right there. I just remember, like, he was trying to explain to me, basically, that they're right there with me, but I just could not get my head straight at all. Well, and I just came to the realization, oh, they are right there. I must be, oh man, I'm so out right now. And so I just fell asleep some more at that point.
Well, cool. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. So before we do that, though, real quick. So you were homeschooled all the way through high school years?
Yep. K through 12. I was homeschooled.
Right.
I never got introduced to a more public setting of education until, well, I guess there was the social groups that were kind of extracurricular as far as my mom schooling me goes. That was how public it got. I mean, pre-college years. But when I got into my college years was when I first got actually full-blown into the public sphere of education. Right. When I went to Wichita Area Technical College for trade school.
Sweet.
Welding class, actually.
Sweet.
Got exposed to other people and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So what kind of, are you still welding now?
Actually, not a whole lot. I don't even like work at an official welding job, unfortunately enough. I really need to get more onto the ball of applying at more actual welding jobs. Right now, I'm actually just a delivery driver for my company. I go delivering steel parts in a big old steak bed. I get paid well enough for it for me to live on my own and so forth and sustain myself. But nonetheless, I still want a welding. I do have fun with it, honest to God. And back in 2019, and even some of 2018, actually, I would on and off get these welding projects, these side welding projects over at my shop. My main thing was delivery driving, but whenever there was spare time. Oh, excuse me, my bad. I am so bad. I'm drinking a Modelo right now. But anyway, so whenever there was spare time or whenever I would work on a Saturday morning was when I would really get the welding projects. Be it like we fix some racks for heat treating, because that's one of the type of shop that I work at is a heat treating facility.
Right.
But outside of that, no, I don't weld full time. And whenever I did weld, it was like before the Boeing accident and the lockdowns. Like those two incidents really slowed down the welding type of work for me. So now I'm not hardly doing it these days. Like I need to get a hand on a welder at some point, or else I'm going to just get old at it. And Aircraft Sparky asks, like, does he have any specialty weld schools like aluminum? I've never mastered aluminum welding at all, Aircraft Sparky. It was a little bit too fast paced for me to fully master. It's mostly welding with regular mild steel and even stainless steel. Like the stainless steel was the mainstay as far as maintaining different types of racks and so forth for our heat treating, and mild steel with primarily the gas metal arc welding. That's the kind of spool gun type of thing, but it wasn't actually a spool gun. You know what I'm talking about when I say gas metal arc welding, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the one with the big roll that just feeds the wire into the weld.
Yeah, like a TIG welder, but it's a plasma thing. It kind of looks like a gun with a lead like coming out of it, the bottom where it's feeding through.
Yeah, it looks more like a gun. That's the main thing that I did. I also done some stick welding, or in other words, shielded metal arc welding on occasion. But unfortunately, the one over at our shop is an absolute piece of crap. Like it would provide more slag than actual metal that would get welded into the metal.
Right.
That was an unfortunate thing about that. Not a whole lot of TIG welding over at my shop. I have been taught how to TIG weld. Like, and by the way, when I say that I'm not good at aluminum, Aircraft Sparky, that's actually not fully true. It's mostly MIG aluminum welding that I haven't mastered that well. TIG welding with aluminum, it's a little bit of a different story, actually. I was fairly good at aluminum TIG welding, gas tungsten arc welding, and stainless steel GTA welding.
Yeah, I had to weld with flame using acetylene and oxygen.
Oh yeah, I learned a little bit of that too.
Yeah, the knit one, purl two thing. You know, where you create a bead and you trail it on down. It's pretty. There's an art to it. I love it. I always love the smell of the ozone too. It's cool.
I don't know about you, but I don't like the smell of acetylene gas. It makes one sick.
No. The gas is horrible, but the ozone, you know, from the crackle of the steel. I don't know. It's usually more of the electric though, from the art. All right, so let's talk about music. We were talking a little bit earlier about the mashup song. What about metal? What kind of music do you listen to besides Christian? I know you mentioned that one guy.
Rich Mullins. That was mostly my childhood. When I got my dad was mostly a born again Christian throughout most of his 30s, so he never really got into. He thought that classic rock was like one of the big, like very bad influences in his life that caused him to like leave such a dirty, sinful life. But then he realized again that he just needs to not let the music fully influence him. So he got back into listening to that. And along with that, he got me listening to it as well. So some of the earlier artists that I got into was Styx, REO Speedwagon, Aerosmith, Leonard Skinner, ZZ Top. Nowadays, I'm a little bit more branching out with my taste of music. Like, I used to not like a whole lot of anything that was even vaguely headbanger back when I was a whole lot younger in my early teen years. But now, in my early to mid-adult years, I'm getting more into this sort of, I guess you could say, headbanger type of music, like
Sure.
Breaking Benjamin, for example. And of course, hair metal is probably my primary favorite genre because there's something about the harmonics and the echoing that sort of goes off when those artists go singing. Like, compare Styx, for example. Styx, with a good portion of their music, it sounds too studio-like. Like they're just singing in a very small space.
Right.
The songs like Renegade and Blue Collar Man, I don't know, just the harmonics do not sound right. They do not sound like echoey or big enough as far as the harmonics go. Whereas you compare them to Def Leppard has some very good harmonics. It sounds like that Joe Elliott is actually singing in a big old city hall,
right.
For example.
Yeah, that's
like
Mutt Lange. Yeah, Mutt Lange's production is fantastic. Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
He loves glam metal, says Aircraft Sparky. I guess so. I don't know if it ends up being that way. Well, then whatever. But I also like heavy metal a lot. Like I'm actually wearing a Metallica T-shirt right now. It's the one with the Gadsden flag. You know, the "Don't Tread on Me" snake on it.
Yeah, sure, man.
That's become one of the staple T-shirts of the channel now because I'm thinking to myself, I saw that at Hot Topic one time, and I was like, oh. Heavy metal and libertarianism all combined in one T-shirt. I gotta have that T-shirt, so I have it right now.
Right on, man. Right on. All right, so
Five Finger Death Punch would be another. Okay.
Yeah.
But Five Finger Death Punch would be another example of an artist that I really like, and I like a whole lot of Celtic and Yanni. I don't know if you ever heard of Yanni, but his genre is considered new age.
Yeah.
But that was another one of the earlier artists that I'm still into right now. Not that big into country, but they're all right for background music. I barely like any pop or rap, especially the more modern stuff. The older stuff that I can kind of get into, and I guess maybe one or two songs or a few songs of more modern pop that I can kind of listen to. Like I appreciate Adele's singing voice. Style of music I cannot really get that much into, but I just appreciate her singing voice nonetheless. But artists like Rihanna or freaking Justin Bieber or Miley Cyrus, no, those types of artists, no, I cannot. They're just a little bit too, petty and
you ever listen
I don't know how you
ever listen to the Zamfir, the master of the pan flute? That's for Kitty Foreman. Let's say hey to some people in the chat real quick. Roasted Opinions, greetings, sir. It's good to see you, JP. Kitty Foreman, I mentioned you, and Frankenberry. I always love that name. Makes me giggle. Aircraft Sparky, of course, sir. I salute you. He will be in this seat week after next, as a matter of fact. So mark your calendars for that one. Should be fantastic. Just give him a little promo there. Let's see. I said hey to Kitty. Mr. Scott, Tiberius, Kirk, check your logic. All the usual suspects. Toya ain't nice. You know you are. Tourish, Uzi Q, of course. Goat Man. We have been blessed by the goat. Memes of destruction. Harlequin's happy hour. And last but not least, the one and only Sir Adamantine. So, and if I missed you, I'm sorry. But hey. So, all right, we'll keep moving. Let's see. So, all right. What about movies? What kind of movies do you like? You like horror films or?
I'm not that big into horror films. I guess that's mostly because I've never been really introduced to horror films back in the day. One that they were still decent when people actually liked them. You know, 80s, 90s, all the classics. Because my parents did not want to expose me to that kind of stuff. And nowadays, now that I'm all grown up, the horror films that get released don't seem very intriguing. Looking at the trailers, and of course, they get subpar, if not outright terrible reviews. But not mention any examples exactly of bad horror films. Like, I hear that the It remakes that people think that those are fairly decent, but stuff that is based off of Mike Myers, they say that those rehashings and sequels are bad, for example. So it never really interests me enough.
Right.
One horror film that I can say is my absolute most favorite, honestly, is The Exorcist. That's mostly because of the characters involved in it. Like, I could really get invested into the character between the relationship of the mom and the daughter, of how this mom, she's just wailing over the idea that her daughter is becoming no longer the person who she knowed and loved, and she does not know what is wrong with her, and she's just going crazy practically at this board of people that she's screaming at, that just wants the problem to be done with. And it's just really emotionally investing, really. And also because the priest, he's a pretty interesting character as well. You know, the main young guy who just lost his mother, and then he ultimately, spoiler alert to everybody, but he of course dies. Everyone knows he kind of makes the ultimate sacrifice for the daughter, and in the end, the daughter and mother, they get reunited. Obviously, I don't know what happens in the sequel because I never watched it, but Exorcist would be one of my favorites. I guess you could say that I like Alien as well, although in Ultimatum of Things, I thought that the first Alien was, I don't know, aside from the intensity of it, and the intensity of The Exorcist, like, first half, sorry, I'm rewinding the conversation a bit, I'm a little bit all over the place. The first half of The Exorcist, I thought it was the most scary part, like the one part of when that she's just walking upside down and down the stairs, you know, with the music playing in the background. That is what freaked me the fuck out the most in that movie. Like, I was watching the movie originally with only one lamp on, no lights on in the rest of the apartment, and then as soon as that scene played out, I was like, nope, gotta turn back on the lights. And then the next scene was the scene of where that she gets this ugly face and attacks the counselor or whatever. That was the other scary part. But past that point, it was more intense and it was actually scary. It's not really for the scares as to why that I like The Exorcist. It's more the character investments. Same thing goes with Aliens. I mean, the sequel to Alien, and more specifically, is all the interesting characters like Private Vasquez and Private, what's his name? Game over, man! Game over! What's his name? I can't remember.
Yeah. Hicks.
Yeah, Hicks's character, he was this spineless coward, and then he develops, to be a little bit more of a badass to ultimately die in the end.
That actor, died of the same surgery that I had to have on my heart.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I can't even remember the actor's name right now because you just I wasn't expecting to hear it. Yeah. You know they're going to be doing a TV series based on Alien, but it's supposed. Yeah, Bill Paxton. Thank you, Kitty. Indeed, Bill Paxton, great actor, fantastic man. There's a movie called Near Dark, and the guy that plays Bishop in Aliens, and the chick that plays Vasquez, right? And they play these vampires from like the Civil War. Civil War era vampires living in modern day. It's a great movie. Catherine Bigelow's first movie, actually.
But if I had to say of what genre is my absolute favorite genre of movie, it would definitely be sci-fi. But there is no sci-fi franchise that is able to actually get to the point fully and be as investing at the same time as Lord of the Rings, even though that's not sci-fi, it's fantasy. But if there was ever to be a sci-fi version of Lord of the Rings, basically in the formula as far as character development goes, obviously not the same word for word script and storyline as Lord of the Rings, but you get the idea. But Lord of the Rings would have to be my absolute favorite franchise, or at least movie trilogy of all time. When it comes to sci-fi, I love Star Wars. I love the shit out of Star Wars, especially like the original trilogy. I used to watch episode 6 repeated time and time again. I'm of course not into the sequel trilogy at all.
Right.
And I would say that this might be a little bit more of a blasphemous opinion, but the prequel trilogy, I say, is almost as good, if not as good, as the original trilogy. Now everybody can hang me by my toenails for that.
Oh, wow.
That's just my opinion, though. Of course, the people say that there's lots of problems with the prequel trilogy. It's very cheesy, but the thing with the prequel trilogy is that it's more grand in scale. And, of course, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan I found to be a whole lot better of a character than Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. That's just my opinion, though. But I was saying, in comparing Lord of the Rings to Star Wars, I like Star Wars, but the reason why that I like Lord of the Rings overall better than Star Wars is because the characters I find to be a little bit more better fleshed out and better interacted with each other than in Star Wars. There's just a little bit, there is a little bit of campiness, I guess you could say, in Lord of the Rings, but there's just too much camp, which campiness can be entertaining of its own right, but there's just a little bit too much camp in not Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, for me to truly balls to the wall get invested. Whereas you compare Star Wars to Battlestar Galactica doesn't have hardly any camp in it. It's more down to earth and serious character development. It's not to say that these series don't have their funny moments, but I don't know if I would necessarily call them campiness. But in the grand scheme of things, the reason as to why that I get more invested into Lord of the Rings as compared to Star Wars is because Lord of the Rings has that very good combination of deep history, with the story of Sauron and so on and so forth, the deep lore. Whereas Star Wars, there's all the backup material for Star Wars to show that there's a bigger universe out there to explore, like the EU lore and so forth. But with the movies themselves, there's not a whole lot revealed, so it just feels kind of smaller in scale. Yeah. At least, especially in the original trilogy. Indeed. And there's that good combination of grand scale battles, grand scale story, and down to earth, highly investable, relatable characters in Lord of the Rings, whereas Star Wars does not hit those notes as good.
What did you think about the Hobbit trilogy?
Oh, the Hobbit. Oh, man. Okay. I like the first one, and I like the second one. Third one, I absolutely hated. The final battle scene, It was an absolute abortion as far as battle scenes. Peter Jackson, the guy who directed some of the best action scenes and war scenes of all cinematic history, like the Mumakil charge from The Return of the King, that was fucking awesome. The Ride of the Rohirrim charging into the army of Mordor, that was awesome. But then he gives us, at the Battle of the Five Armies, this mess of a battle scene. It just looks like basically backdrop of a video game that you're playing. it just looks so messy that it looks like a meshed up backdrop more than anything. It's not coordinated enough as compared to Return of the King to where that you can actually tell of what the fuck is going on. And plus, I hated the Rivertown advisor guy. That guy is the Jar Jar Binks of Lord of the Rings. Fucking annoying.
Tell me how you really feel. Cool. All right,
let me tell you how I feel. Like one part of when that he goes dressing and drag and like the one part that he goes dressing and drag and stuffs his shirt full of coins to where it looks like big ass massive boobs. I'm just thinking to myself, no, Peter Jackson, why?
Why?
Like some other people got a kick out of it, but me, I just thought that it was way too carny and way too cartoony and corny for this to be a Lord of the Rings thing. I cannot believe that Peter Jackson actually did that. Like, yeah, there were some cheesy things about Lord of the Rings, but not to this level. This is like some Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck type of shit.
Right.
Which, not to say that Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes are bad or anything, but what they do is meant for their own material and property. But you put that in Lord of the Rings, it just feels so fucking out of place and just way too cheesy. Like, the only thing that I can say that I outright liked about Battle of the Five Armies was when that Saruman and Elrond fought off the ghosts of the ring wraiths. That's about it. The rest of it was either forgettable or outright terrible, and that's why I dislike it. When I say that I like Lord of the Rings, I'm referring to the original trilogy that became a staple and the godfather, basically, of fantasy.
Sweet. All right, so moving on, let's say, do you have any scars, tattoos, or piercings?
I do, don't have any piercings. I don't have any tattoos at all. Scars, I have like these minor scars on my arms and hands and whatnot from my welding job in the field of work that I generally do. Like, not only do I do a whole lot of welding, or not a whole lot of welding, but not only do I do welding on the side whenever I got the time over at my shop, but I also like do some oxyacetylene cutting of big machines. So not only fixing up stuff, but also breaking down stuff so that we can like throw it away. And one time, let me tell you, this one time I was like inside this long ass massive furnace that we were trying to get rid of, and I was cutting off this piece of a wall on the side of the oven. I did not secure it properly. It was like stainless steel, so I wasn't exactly doing the precise cutting. And I know that you cannot really oxyacetylene cut with or a stainless steel. You cannot really oxy cut stainless steel. I was making do because we were like way too far away. From where I was set up, it was way too far away from any power outlets to actually take a grinder to that shit, and we did not have any very good battery operated grinders to make it convenient enough. So a whole bunch of oxygen and acetylene, that was what we had plenty of resource, and it was a little bit more mobile than a freaking grinder when you don't have a freaking power outlet nearby. But yeah, what was I gonna say? So I was using oxyacetylene to cut the stainless steel wall, and bit by bit I was cutting off the top part there, and I thought that was gonna like fall back. No, as soon as I got to cutting off the last little bit, and it was still hot too, the edge of the area that I was cutting. So as soon as I had like cut off the last little bit, instead of falling back, it fell towards me and landed right on my forearm, to where it just scraped off and burned off the skin at the same time of my forearm.
Yikes.
It was yeah, it was I gotta say, I was a little bit more amused that I was angry or hurting or anything like that day. I was not like keeling over about it or anything. As soon as that happened, I like kicked it off of my arm, and I just dragged the piece out of the oven to where it was on the ground, ready to be thrown away. And then I immediately walked into the locker room to wash up on it, and I was just practically laughing all the way there because I was like, oh, that hurts. You know, that kind of a reaction.
Man.
I actually have a video of the accident that happened, pictures of when that it was freshly done and so forth. Maybe I'll link it to you sometime.
Okay.
My secondary channel.
All right, so we're getting philosophical here. In 40 years, what do you think people will be nostalgic for?
In 40 years, what do I think people will be nostalgic for? I think The Mandalorian is a possibility if they remain good as far as that series go. When it comes to Disney Star Wars, that and Rogue One are like the only things I could say that I really liked about it. Although, a differing opinion, but I also like Solo. But Mandalorian is the one thing that I can see people being a little bit more nostalgic for than anything. Game of Thrones, I guess, would probably...
Hello? Uh-oh. Did we just lose? You there, buddy? Dark? All right. So, for some reason, I can't hear Dark. Can y'all hear me? If you can hear me, put in a 1. Just let me know that this thing's still working. Just like, oh no, what is going on? Dude, I've been hit by 220, brother, twice, and it has my respect. I'll put it that way. Oh man, no doubt. Thanks. All right. So, Dark Con, hop out of the Discord and then hop back in the studio. A lot of times that'll work. You ready to give it a shot? Hop out.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. All right. You're
Okay,
back.
that was weird. I had to close down the Discord tab and then reopen it.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there. I tried disconnecting and then reconnecting, but yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it does that sometimes. It's the nature of the beast. Discord, be Discord. So if you could know the absolute and total truth to one question and one question only, what question would that be?
Oh God! You kind of went over my head with that question. You mind repeating it?
All right. If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what question would that be?
I guess it would be. This is, of course, my more Christian side speaking than me, within me. Like, I don't know how much people can sympathize with this or empathize or whatnot. I know that Aircraft Sparky probably could, but as to the absolute whether or not that God exists and Jesus actually did save us. Like, I am convinced that those are the truth. In all absolute honesty, I don't know for absolute 110% certainty that is a thing. It's something that gets me to thinking, and sometimes, on occasion, give me anxiety about. Yeah.
All right. So, all right, if you could go back in time and spend a week with anybody, who would that be and why?
Oh, brother. Oh man, that's a toughie.
Terry.
That is a real tough one. There's so many. I've been like listening more to Biographics, the YouTube channel. They go talking about so many political figures and so forth. Who would I like to spend a week with? Oh God. I don't know. Maybe that's a question that I'll have to get back to some other time, because
I understand. So, I mean, yeah. So, what would you say your spirit animal is?
a spirit animal. That question I haven't thought much about either, but I guess it would have to be like, excuse me. A lot of people has said that if I was to be an animal, that it would be like like if we all lived in a cartoon of where that we were all animal translations of our own selves. Some people have said before that I'd be a snake, but I don't think that they were intending that to be an insult of, oh, you're slippery and spineless like a snake or anything like that. I think I don't know. It's just something about my personality as far as that go. So I don't think myself to be as irritable as a snake or anything like that. I don't know. That's a question that I would have to ponder about more, but I guess that would be possibly a lizard of some kind.
Okay, all right. So, all right, this is the portion where I call the Lipton questions, where I pay homage to James Lipton. He's a guy that used to do a show called Inside the Actor Studio, and every show he would do, he would ask this 10 questions to everybody, and it's kind of like a rapid response kind of thing. Like, you know, say the first thing that pops in your head. Like, what's your favorite word?
Bread.
All right, what's your least favorite word?
There's like a word. There are words that have really grated me, but I cannot think of any off the top of my head. There are, of course, words I'm thinking right now, but truthfully, they don't really annoy me, the words I'm thinking of right now. So, pass, I guess. Sorry.
All right, so what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? What gets you excited, fired up?
Music.
All right. What turns you off?
Bad moments with friends.
What's your favorite curse word?
I'd probably say dick.
Okay.
Man, don't be such a dick, bro.
Right. What sound or noise do you love?
What sound or noise do I love? Probably I'd say for right now a well-tuned electric guitar, even though I don't play it that well. Well, actually, no, I don't play it at all, but nonetheless.
All right. So what sound or noise do you hate?
Screeching.
What profession other than you own would you like to attempt?
Honestly, movie directing or story writing in general, as far as that field goes.
Sweet. What profession would you not like to do?
Waste management. It's the first thing that comes up, anyways.
And if heaven exists, what would you like to God?
Actually, I have a better answer.
Okay.
A profession that I would not want to get in would be like restaurant, dishwashing, actually.
Oh yeah.
I have done that before, and it does not pay very well, and it's kind of a fairly miserable occupation. If I would want to go back to it, I probably would rather drive a dump truck, like a garbage truck, than go back to dishwashing. Actually.
Indeed, I totally concur with that. I'm not a big fan. I had to dishwash for a while. So, all right. So the last question of this little section is: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You did your best as far as friends go.
Good. All right. So all right, this is the point where if you have a question for DarkCon, go ahead and pop them in the chat with the question marks. You know, kind of highlighting it so we'll know which ones you are addressed to him. And while we're doing that, I would say, who would you say is a criminally undersubscribed YouTuber that you don't understand why they don't have more?
All right. Wait, you want me to answer that question question right now while they line up the questions in the chat?
Yeah.
That's a bit of a tough question because some YouTubers I would like to promote right now, but either I have gotten to some bad relations with them or they're inactive, like Loudmouth Reviews, for example. He's on a long hiatus, been for a few months now. One that's criminally underrated, I feel. I guess that I would just answer for right now would possibly be Night Shift 10,000. I'll say.
Okay, so Beams of Destruction wants to know if you like turtles.
Not particularly. When it comes to reptiles, they're not exactly my most favorite. So, I mean, I liked Mutant Ninja Turtles whenever they turned on, but it's not anything that I've gone on my way to watch.
Well, Evercraft Sparky wants to know who your nemesis is.
Who is my nemesis? Right now, there's some. I've had some nemesis before in the past, but we've called for pretty much a ceasefire with some of those nemesis, like or nemesi, if that's even a word.
I'll accept it.
Let me see. I guess for right now, it would probably be Tim Horn, a YouTuber named Tim Horn, if you had ever heard of him. I'd actually made a response video to him. I've yet to return back to the subject of him, but that's a lot of my subscribers are wanting me to make like another response video to him because he's made a response video to me. I guess that would be who it is right now. Nemesis is what they're saying is plural for nemesis.
Nemesis. All right. So what about a YouTuber you think is overhyped?
Overhyped?
Yeah, somebody don't understand why they're so popular.
I guess say for right now I would say Onision, actually.
Yeah, I understand that one.
Well, I guess it's more of I guess it's more of a why are they still popular? Why are they still subscribed? I mean, he got unsubscribed a lot, but he's not being unsubscribed enough, or at least in my opinion, of how much of an asshole he is and so forth. But I guess it's understandable enough as to how he got there in the first place. I mean, he kind of milked the whole skeptic community, the old guard skeptic community days of where that it was creationism versus atheism. I guess that's one of the things that he kind of exploited. But I'll just leave it at that. I do not know why that Onision is still popular.
Indeed. Okay. And all right. So at this point, do you have anything new content-wise or something you have in the works that you want to talk to us about? You want to give us a sneak peek at?
Well, I guess one of them is, of course, the response video to Tim Horn, but that is like a little bit longer down the road. Not going to get on that for a while because there's some other edited projects that I'm getting on right now. One of them is a 5-year review. Like 5 years doing political commentary on YouTube. Just want to do a review of that. And the one after that is going to be a response video to Michael Knowles as far as flag burning goes. Like, I don't like it as much as anyone else here does that people be burning flag, and I would personally probably disassociate from any friend of mine, or at that point ex-friend of mine, who has such visceral hatred for America to take it out in that sort of fashion. But all the same, the thing that I differ with Michael Knowles on is banning the burning of the American flag, because for one, it is in a way people's own freedom of expression, and plus if they got that flag via legitimate means, like purchased it and not stolen it from somebody, well then by all rights they can do whatever they want with their private property. And another video project that will be happening after that is actually a bit of a drama review of somebody else who basically called me a pedo supporter just because of the fact that I disagreed with the statement of the left are pedophiles, which that was over the cuties controversy, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I hate to bring that up on a live stream that is as lighthearted as this one, but yeah, I was engaging in on the cuties controversy, which fuck cuties, by the way, everybody. Full disclosure. But because of that controversy, some other YouTubers fellow right-wingers were basically saying that the left are pedos, and I was thinking to myself, that's a gross overgeneralization. There's no evidence to say that the majority of leftists have, screwed children or have a desire to do such, or even that they defend pedophilia.
But the most lenient people, when it comes to quote maps or pedophiles, are leftists.
I get the logic that there's a high.
I have to get it.
There's a higher percentage of leftists and right wingers that do such a thing. I fully agree to that, but the percentage of leftists that actually do it, I still don't think it makes up a majority. So I disagree with the generalization. Because I kept on arguing against that generalization, I ultimately got called a freaking pedo supporter. Even though I've made content reaming actual pedo defenders and even glorifying other people reaming pedo defenders.
Well,
so it's just an outright freaking lie.
Thanks to the people that watched it, there's been so much response to it that I don't even have to look at it. It's like
talking about cuties.
Yeah, it's just, and everybody that took that hit for me, I completely thank you very much. Because I don't know, pubic hair or lack thereof on grown women creeps me out. Okay, that's how I feel about stuff like that. But neither here nor there. Sparky also wanted to know, who is the most annoying YouTube personality?
And I see another question there by Mr. Scott J87. Who's the most annoying YouTube personality? I would probably have to say it'd be personal. It'd probably be somebody that I know in person, but I don't think I ought to mention their names because it's another YouTube personality that I've kind of drawn a ceasefire with, and am trying to make them as irrelevant as possible in conversation. But if I had to say most annoying YouTube personality, it'd probably be that person that I don't think I should mention.
Okay. What about your thoughts on C.S. Lewis or Martin Luther? I mean, C.W. Lewis, I'm sorry.
C.W. I'm pretty sure that they meant to say C.S. Lewis because that's the only Lewis that I can think of. But a C.W. Lewis, I've never heard of a C.W. Lewis. But if you're referring to C.S. Lewis, Mr. Scott, well then he's all right. I mean, I haven't listened to a whole lot of his Christian apologisms and whatnot. I probably should in the ultimatum of things. But really, the most I know about C.S. Lewis is the Narnia Chronicles, in which I've watched all three of the mainstream movies that were made based on Narnia. I listened to the audiobooks of them and all that stuff. But Martin Luther, talking about 1500s Martin Luther, obviously. Mm-hmm. What I've read, he's a little bit of an anti-Semite, so that is a little bit of something that I disagree and disapprove with him on. But all the same, I believe that Martin Luther is overall a net good for the history of the world, because without him, I don't know if Christianity would be in the sort of reformed position that it is right now. After his existence, after his works, obviously more and more Christians were still prosecuting other people just for not being their own denomination of Christian, even let alone a Christian in general. But all the same, I believe that there was a reformation of thought within Christianity because of Martin Luther's work against the papal powers that was such a high influence in the kingdoms of old during the Dark Ages.
Do you hate watch anybody?
Do I hate watch anybody?
Yeah.
I'd probably say Progressive Voice would probably be the biggest hate thing that I hate watch.
Gotcha. All right, so at this point, we're fixing to call it a show. Actually, it's tradition to show your channel. The links in the descriptions reveal his YouTube channel and his Twitter. at. So I recommend everybody here subscribe to this gentleman. I enjoy his takes. And I like I watched about half of the thing you did with the God, I feel like Joe Biden, the debate the other night.
The debate. Oh, you watched about half of my review of the debate?
Yeah, while you were watching it. It was
okay.
Good. Yeah.
I thought you were referring to you watched like half of the content that I've made against a certain person.
No, negative. Okay. All right, cool.
But if I may, like, say, shall I show myself?
Absolutely.
All right. Yes. So if anybody is interested, I am the Dark Conservatarian, also nicknamed DarkCon most of the time. I also go by Zach. Like the nickname for my first name is pretty much public information, so too late for anything to be done about that. So if you want to call me Zach, well then by all means. But more typically, DarkCon is what I guess more comfortably go by. And I am a political commentary primarily. I also do some entertainment stuff. I'm trying to get started into doing movie reviews on my secondary channel, DarkCon Entertainment. You cannot miss it if you search it. It's DarkCon Entertainment. Some movie reviews on there and some things of my personal life, highlights of my personal life shown on there as well. And I also do highlights of other live streams on my primary channel. And if you want a very good introduction to my political commentary YouTube channel, go watch the videos in the Dark Conservatarian playlist. That playlist is the first playlist that's at the top of my channel page. You cannot miss it if you go on there. Exactly. That's where some of my best content is. The most well edited, the most snappy, the most to the point, like I'm not being right now. But yeah, the pro-life firebrand, free market capitalist. I criticize the right as well as the left, but mostly the left, obviously. But there's still some right-wingers I have problems with that I go doing response videos to as well sometimes. And also Christian, although I'm not as well spoken out about that. And yeah, go check out my channel if you'd like it.
Sweet. And personally here, tomorrow, Becca Farley and I at 6 p.m. Central Time, or is that 8 p.m.? Are you talking about tomorrow, Becca? Because it's usually 6 p.m. Central, which means 7 Eastern, and 4 p.m. On the West Coast. We're going to be looking at part 2 of the specter of communism. And what that is it's like a 6-part thing where we're looking at it's done in spiritual terms, so it talks about the birth of the evil that is communism. And so and
can I ask you one personal question before we go off air?
Sure.
Like when I listen to your voice, I just envision either a big bearded white guy, Billy Gibbons looking white guy, or a big burly, big bearded black guy. Like just out of curiosity, your accent kind of throws me off. So, just out of curiosity, are you white or black?
I'm a zebra. Actually, yeah, I was. I don't know. Both my parents are light skinned, so Irish and English ancestry. So you can assume. I'm going to be vague on the answer.
Okay, fair enough then. But seriously, I listen to you and I go thinking like the front man singer of ZZ Top, Billy Gibbons.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you, man. I love ZZ Top. They're the most unique band on the planet, in my opinion. Great 3-piece. I've got a thing for 3-piece bands. But all right, tomorrow Becca Farley doing the communism thing. Next Friday, of course, is the Creem stream. Next Saturday, accelerated deconstruction. If I could say it 3 times fast, I'd give myself $1 million. And next week in this chair, we're gonna go like 2 hours early to talk to this girl. Who was alive during the Ceausescu days of Romania. She lived under the shroud of communism, socialism, and so her name is Peacekeeper Tech Girl. And like I said, it'll be 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, and it'll be 11 a.m. over on the West Coast. So I guess on that level, man, I don't have anything else. I don't have any more questions. I'm out, dude.
All right.
I had a ball, and I want to thank you for coming on the show and getting real with us, man.
And thank you for inviting me. It's a rarity that I ever get interviewed. I do some interviews on my channel, but I rarely get interviewed, especially on a laid-back format like this by other people.
Oh, cool, man. I'm glad we could accommodate and make this happen, man. And on that note, let's go ahead and we'll go into this room, and we don't have to see that. Yeah, there you go. And if you're ready, let's go ahead and say goodbye to everybody.
See y'all later.